afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Schade. I'm the director of your Alaska Division of Agriculture. So it's Thursday noon, and we've just now got our offices back mostly. So we got new carpet, new paint, and staff starting to move back in. So we apologize for some of the turmoil we've had over the last 8 weeks that we ended up with a little asbestos problem and a few other things. So a lot of us have been working in and out from home, and it's been a challenge, but we've tried to keep up with the workload, and definitely there's been a few times the fumes just ran us out of here. And so we apologize if it took us a little while to get back to people, but we continue to work on behalf of our industry. So today we're going to do a couple of things real quick. Like we promised you that we were working diligently on our microgrant program. Catherine here has been doing yeoman's work. They have looked at a lot of programs and things. And so we promised an update by the end of the month. So Catherine's going to slip in here and give you a brief update of where we are and what we think in our timeline is going to be. So take it away.
All right. Thank you, Dave. I'm Catherine Cheadle. I'm the grants administrator here at Alaska Division of Agriculture. And I have had an opportunity to talk with and email back and forth with quite a few of you this last month. The news is, in a nutshell, we got over 2,500 applications. I think I fielded about 3,000 individual emails to get down to 2,500 applications in various forms. And as Dave mentioned, we've all been given updates. It's great news. It is overwhelming, but this is good news. It's catalyzed us into backing up and finding an online system, a software system for the next stage, which will be the full applications, and on into the future for all of our various agricultural grant programs. You'll, just like many other programs, you'll be able to go online, sign into a portal with just your name, have your own space to work from. You can save and go back, and you'll be able to just fill in the blanks and fill in the information that we need to see what your great project is, and then hit send. So it won't be 3,000 emails with individually attached PDF forms or anything. The staff here have just gone to heroics, but I was thinking, I'll speak for myself, optimistically 300 or 400 applications on microgrants back in February. 2,500. There's no way the review committee can even read all those individually. So once this software system is up and running, which is going to optimistically take about another month or so, we will be able to get back. We will email everyone whether or not they have been selected and invited to do stage 2, which is the full application. So again, just want to give out a reminder to folks, it's a 2-step process, always has been. We got all of these pre-applications in. From those, the review team is going to make a selection of soliciting full applications, but whether or not your project is part of that, you will get an email from me. The other part of the good news of being so overwhelmed so early on and having this fast learning curve and fast problem solving is that we're able to tell our funders at the federal level, hey, there is need here in Alaska. We got 20, 25 times the money requested as we had for this program. It also tells me Alaskans are innovative. We are interested in being self-sufficient under these microgrants for food security. Alaskans are excited, and we have so many great ideas. I just can't wait to see this get on the ground. We don't have hard dates for full applications. Again, we're still getting this new system up and running. So we'll inform people of that. Working as fast as we can. We do need to remind you that this is a reimbursable grant. I've had people asking me that question quite a lot. The actual 2021, did I skip ahead 100 years? It is April Fool's Day, but I'm going to come back to 2021. Getting the full applications in, getting those processed and reviewed, getting them awarded, getting them contracted, starting on the ground project work and getting reimbursements going. It will be until this fall before we have the contracts and before we're even ready to begin reimbursing people. And that's a whole nother system. So plan your spring work on your own accordingly. Just make your own best decisions. But any reimbursements or any final grant contracts are going to be by sometime this fall. And that's always been pretty much the basic timeline on this grant. But again, this is fantastic that we have all this interest, we have all this talent. We've got innovative people in Alaska, and we are all really excited to get this on the ground. So thank you for all of your interest and all your great questions and all of your great project ideas. And you will be hearing from us. So stay tuned. My last plug is going to be for looking at our webpage. It's Alaska, search for Division of Agriculture. There's a grants page, and we'll have updates on there as well. So thank you guys so much. It's a really great program, and happy spring. We're as excited as you guys are.
Yeah, and the other good news is we're applying for our next year's round
Yeah.
of funding. So while
Yeah.
we're still setting up and running 21, we're now going back to AMS, Ag Marketing Service, and saying, we want our 22 money.
Yeah.
Because we want that ready to go as soon as we get this process done. So we won't have these delays. We really are going to try to get this into a timely program. But we went from a temporary program thinking it'd be a few to this is looking like it may become a permanent program. So we're taking the time to go back. I've asked Linda and Catherine to build a program that's going to be efficient and effective, not only for the division, but for the people out there.
Yeah, and
'Cause if
all,
it's- yeah.
all your applications help us justify to our federal funders, yes, there's need, yes, there's capability. Alaskans are ready to run with a program like microgrants long-term, so please keep working with us. And as with anything, we need to Alaskanize the program and make sure that we have acceptable criteria so that we can get it on the ground for Alaska's growing conditions and Alaska's communities.
Yep, definitely a discussion I'm having with
Yes.
this
Background.
in the federal system, because once again, there's a few times we get answers and I'm like, that's not going to work for Alaska. Like a lot of our programs. Last week actually got a call from the director of Hawaii. She and I had an hour-long discussion in the evening about the challenges Hawaii has. We both find it somewhat difficult to get the folks in the USDA better have a lower 48 centric viewpoint to understand the challenges. Sometimes I think we've got tough challenges, and then I listen to Hawaii's where they don't even have roads; they got to go in the boats.
Yeah.
And so, they've been, and I don't think I've told you, very appreciative of both the teams working these microgrants together. So Sharon said, thank you very much. And so Phyllis said they were very appreciative of what you guys do. So I wanted to let you know publicly that Alaska and Hawaii are working this together. And so I think we're gonna end up with a really good program. They were very appreciative of all your help as well. So super. All right. So, with that, the other thing, we hadn't really talked about what do we have in the legislative hopper this year. And of course, the elephant in the room is the budget in that discussion. But we do have some bills in the legislature that are related to agriculture. And in fact, I'm pretty excited about two of them in particular, at least two of the subjects, because there's multiple bills on the same subjects. So the first I wanted to talk about a little bit is it help people understand how do you get there. And I think most people know, but I thought we'd just take a quick run. And I've got a here, and we'll just talk about how do you get into the legislative system and look at these bills and how do you track and support agriculture? Because as we all learned, the legislative process is driven by the public. And so we want people to know that, they have the right and the privilege of being part of that process. So with that, next slide there, John, if I could. So, everybody knows the state website. As part of the state website, the legislature has its own website. So when you go into the home page, you'll see it says home and then Senate and House. Go down, and I highlighted bills and laws because that's what takes you to where you want to go on current legislation. And so you can go in there and you can sort it out many different ways. If you think it's ag related, you can go down to subject summary, look at ag, and it'll pull those bills up. It won't talk about the one land bill we have because that's kind of hidden in there. But when I looked at that, I was like, that's interesting. But go in there and you can look by, if you know the sponsor, if all the different kinds of data that might be there, you can look for it. Next slide. So what do we have that's of real interest to the Division of Agriculture? So I bit of time working with the administration, our commissioners, LW, all of us, about how do we make land sales and the management of state lands better. Of course, my issue is how do we make ag land better? And so in the bill, we have a couple of things that I think are going to make definite improvements that the governor asked for. And that is, one, we're making some simple wording changes to allow a broader use of ag covenant land. I think that when the bills and the law was enacted many years ago, we didn't think about agriculture in the way it's developed and evolved over the years. And so we want to allow a little more reasonable, in my word, reasonable, allow farmers to do a few more things that support that farm. It's got to be related to farming. It continues to have to be ag land. But if you're doing something that supports that farm and it's not going to hurt your farming, that's something we want to be able to make it happen. We also looked at the fact that there's some severe limitations on subdivisions, both in size and numbers. And so we went from 40 acres and 4 parcels and made that you can 8 parcels and you can go down to 20 acres. So that is something that I think will help in some of the areas to where that will work. We've also been working with the legislature, and I think there's going to be a committee substitute, and we're looking at maybe a possibility of having some smaller ag tracts with broader range of uses allowed. That's something that's being discussed and should be a real positive. So Senate Bill 97, follow that. If you have ideas, support that, or don't, please make your voice heard. So that is in Senate resources right now, and you can go on and look, and they will tell you through the system when bills are brought up for use. The other one, Senator Hughes, a fantastic supporter of our industrial hemp program. Last year we had a bill we were working through to help us become compliant with the 2018 Farm Bill, the federal regulation. And Senator Hughes has 27, and we've been moving that forward. House Bill 156, which was just filed by Representative Keel, I believe. And so that will be moving both in the House and the Senate. And that's something we really need to move forward this year so that we can meet our deadline to apply to the USDA to make a permanent program. So what that does is allows us the ability to apply for a permanent program, to add some requirements that the federal farm bill requires us to do, but it gives us some leeway to keep it an Alaska program and give us the time to develop that. And so that program is, as a pilot program, up and running and doing very, very well. So really pleased with that. The other that we in this office don't have a lot to do with, but I really wanted to make sure people are aware of, is Representative Tarr's House Bill 22, which she has brought back, shared milk and animal products. I definitely support that bill. Of course, the milk and animal issues are over at our friends at the state veterinarian's office in DEC, and so we support them, but this is a good bill. So these are bills that are directly related to agriculture, and ones that I really wanted to make sure that people have an opportunity to read and become involved in the process if they have ideas. So just a short, brief update today. We're really busy responding to the legislators. Really wanted to thank the Senate Finance Subcommittee last week. A great discussion with them on invasives and how important it is to keep our environment clear, keep everything safe for our agriculture and our other industries. Great dialogue and discussion. Really appreciated their keen questions and that support. So, John, do we have any questions before we sign off? We'll take a quick look. Let me just see if they're general, maybe we can answer them quickly. But we don't have a lot of detail. That's kind of the truth. Right, right. So we hope to have a new set of dates and a timeline in the next couple of weeks. But it literally is not going to pan out until the end of the month as we build up and get this computer program. I think our computer program is the key. And when we have that up and running, then that will build us up to that. So if you want to put your mic back on there, Catherine, did you have anything to add on that?
All right, our first question is, if we start a project with our own funds that are later approved for with funding, can those costs be applied to the award?
Again, it's a reimbursable grant. So if you're invited to do a full application, and if that full application's funded, I will then set up a contract between your organization or you as an individual for a micro grant. After a contract signed, dry ink, then you can start spending and document your receipts that you'll need to send me for a reimbursement request. So no, money that you spend right now, anytime before you have that's phase 2 of the application and a contract, if that's the way it goes for you, nothing you spend right now until you have a contract with the Division of Agriculture and dry ink on it
Right.
is going
that's a
to be
USDA
reimbursed.
requirement. That's not our
Yeah.
requirement. That's USDA.
Yeah.
That's federal rules.
Mhm. And as a relatively new employee, I've had a big education very quickly in how these, how the funding works between us and our federal partner at AMS. The USDA Farm Bill is funding this through the AMS agency, and then through the Division of Agriculture, through the state's headquarters in Juneau, and then me on my computer here in Palmer. So there's a lot of background work that's more complex than just simply sending a check. Nothing you spend right now up until the minute you have a contract fully signed on both sides is reimbursable, only after a contract, and that would be late summer, early fall. So the broad answer is no. Make your best plan right now, and anticipate that this is a competitive grant and that by next year's growing season, that might be set up as a reimbursable contract should you be selected. I hope that answers it. We don't have a short list right now. There will be no announcement. It's going to take a good solid month to get a program that can handle both this and anticipated future microgrants. We just didn't know that we'd get this amount of interest. I did see a question on that. Why weren't we prepared? No one was prepared. We couldn't really outguess at the beginning of 2020 that we'd even get this program. We knew that the funding was coming, but we didn't have it staffed, from what I understand, and we didn't know exactly the timeline internally of starting it. Dave can answer that much better.
So the USDA took a full year before they gave us the money that we knew was coming.
Oh, that's the
It literally
answer.
was given to us the last day of their fiscal year, the last day they could give us the money. I mean, literally, and I had pushed them for a year. So without a guarantee of when the money was coming, we really didn't have the resources to set up the program. So it was the proverbial catch-22. We knew we had it, but we couldn't move until we had it. And it was frustrating. And yes, I listened to people's concerns for a year. And believe me, the senator's office and I, we spent a lot of time talking to the USDA, and they said, well, until OMBA gives us this number, they have some kind of magic number. And it took them 9 months to get the magic number, which set up the program. And so I didn't even know they needed a magic number, and those are my words, but there's some kind of tracking number that you have to, that triggers the Farm Bill, and at it, they literally have no legal authority to then do their part. And so setting up new programs is challenging in the best of times, and we're in challenging times anyway. So we apologize. We have worked as diligently and as hard as possible. And Catherine wasn't here, but we literally reclassified a position and hired a grants administrator for this program, and hired Catherine in because of her experience. So it's just not somebody that's a marketing person trying to run grants on the side, which we've done for years, and that works fine with smaller and smaller grants. But this is a full-time, real-world, heavy duty. Did I think there was going to be? My guess was a maximum of 1,200. So it was double my my guess. And we did the pre-application, and frankly, that was my decision to do pre-applications to try to get a feel of what the need was. Because if we were trying to write criteria without knowing what the need is, well, just being a typical bureaucracy. So as frustrating as it is, the information we have now, then we can build the right program. And so, I'll take the hit on the time, but I'll also say we're building a program that's going to work. And it is worth the time. It's as frustrating as it is, and I've done a couple of interviews and said, the idea is to help everybody in their local community. It takes time to set these kind of programs up because it's just not the government handing it to you from Anchorage centric. We're talking about going out and letting people do it on their own in the area they're from. And believe me, that makes our federal counterparts head hurts because we're not doing a typical program. And so what you guys don't see is the background as we go back and forth arguing about definitions and federal rules and how to apply them to Alaska. I think we do that 3 days a week is back and forth. And so when we get there, we should have a lot of these technical issues worked out. So it's not like we are actively every day working toward making this program go. So I just really wanted to back up what Catherine said. She spends every day in more than just her 7.5 hours working on this, because we all around here are trying really hard to get this done as quickly as we can. The goal was by the spring. It's just physically not possible. And I had to explain to my commissioner and the governor that I couldn't do it, and they weren't happy about that. But the fact is we just can't do this. We have to do it right. We have to do it so that people get the money that will do something positive. And so that's a little verbose, but the bottom line is we're going to get this done as fast as we can. It's going to be done right, and it's going to be done for the long term. So if you miss this year, next year will be open, the following year will be open. This is something that we're going to have to all figure out how to do as a long-term strategy. And I hope people realize this long-term strategy will help people understand that, just because you don't get everything this year doesn't mean that we're not going to support you in the long run. All the communities, we're trying really hard to build that security in that location. And I think sometimes people lose sight of the fact that the most secure is when you have it where you are.
The challenge for our reviewers is, as they've said, just to get the most benefit to the most people with the resources that we have. So again, it's a good problem and a good challenge to have so much interest. We're seeing a pattern of the projects people are interested in doing, the capacities that we have in all rural, urban, every area of Alaska, and the kinds of ideas that people have helps us make a case for having this program be a long-term program. But how do we benefit the most projects with the resources that we have is a real critical question. But seeing those patterns again helps us make a good long-term case to keep this kind of a program. Yep. And to back up and do it in a way that doesn't cause a humongous staff burden on us. We never want to be delaying and delaying and delaying. We are just as frustrated as anybody. Spring's coming, everything's melting. I'm raring to go in my own things that I want to get done. And so we definitely hear you, but the greatest good is going to be making a longer term program that does address real identifiable food security needs statewide, and keep those priorities in mind as well.
Yep. Yeah. Question, one more or so, John?
I think probably the last question to address, there's some questions about deadlines for the second round of applications and whether those will be extended.
Well, the second round of applications has not yet been opened. We're still on 2,500 pre-applications. So again, once the software program's up and running in about a month, the review committee will be able to invite full applications. That needs to be open, I believe, a minimum. We've been told 60 days. We're trying to work on an exemption to get 45 days. So
There will be adequate
It will
time.
be, there will be adequate time to submit your full application. The pre-application was a 2-pager. Full application is about 10 pages. If you're invited to give one, we'll need more detail on the budget and what the program is and how things are going to work for your project. So, sometime in summer is when those full applications will have been reviewed.
Right.
But we don't have a deadline of tomorrow for everybody go online. No, we're still building up the system, and it's going to be some time before we even know who's invited for a full application and who's going to be asked to maybe come back next year or next round. But as Dave said, this is going to be a long-term program, and we anticipate having another round of micro grants every single year into the future. And he's doing a tremendous amount of background work to make sure that that happens and make sure that it's Alaskanized, if you will, so that it really can be implemented and that the things that we hear you ask for can be funded. It's taking an awful lot of great communication. So thanks, Dave, on our behalf.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I think that's your update for today. I really appreciate the fact that people sign in and watch us. We really appreciate your support. Next slide there, John. Oh, I didn't have my. So I just thought I had my last slide was, I guess I dropped my last slide was just my, you guys, I'm david.w.shady@alaska.gov. Reach out, let me know. So I guess there it is. So, guys, I am your director. That's my job. And so, it takes a little while for me to get back to people because I'm very busy these days, but there's my direct line. Leave me a message. It may take me a week, but I get back to people. I try really hard to do that. david.w.shady@alaska.gov. Sometimes I answer people at night. I do surprise people. So, I'm a farm kid. I don't work a 9 to 5. So, ag is important. We definitely really like hearing from folks, hearing your ideas and how we can move Alaska forward. Bright future for agriculture in Alaska. Thanks. Have a great day, great week.